Give it up for Pichikulu. At this point in time, I would like to welcome on stage Dr Ngcuka. Give it up for Dr Ngcuka as the stage. Ayangizwa. Give it up for Dr Ngcuka. Hlala kahle, hlala phansi umamele imessage ozoyizwa la. Impilo yakho angeke iphinde ifane. Uzoshintsha namhlanje.
Good afternoon to everybody. Mine is gonna be a sharing of experience with you. It's not gonna be a speech per se or a presentation per se. Izawuba ukuthi sikhulumisane about the problems ezenzeka or impilo yomuntu othi angene kwi-drugs. And that's about it. That's about it. You know, I would like to start this presentation by telling you a short story of my experience, you know, admitting a patient in a rehab. And the patient was coming from an environment of, you know, a brothel. And then this patient brought to us by social workers because they saw that this is a young person, 19 years of age, and performing in a brothel, and then she has to strip and do a lot of things in a brothel situation to try and entertain everybody around. Now, I have to admit this one. And then she says to me, "Doctor, I'm not interested in this whole thing that you are starting here." And then I looked at her. "Why are you here?" No, I've been brought by these people pointing at the you know, the social workers. "I am not interested in what you are starting, the whole process. I don't want to come to a rehab." Then I was like, okay. Oh, okay, where do you come from? I come from Port Elizabeth. And I came into Joburg because my mother was unwell and she ultimately passed on. And then I was left with friends of my mother who ended up introducing me to a brothel master or a head of the brothel, or the owner of the brothel. You understand what I'm saying? So look, listen to this one. This is and tonight, everybody, you know, here in a situation of this nature, the best is to use all languages. All languages. Uzukiswa ngamanye amagama uyaresista, akayifuni yonke le nto esiqalayo, akayifuni yonke, because yena she feels uba she wants to continue. Then I asked her, what do you exactly want to do? No, I want to go back to my masters. I want them to give me the tablets that they're giving me. I want them to give me, you know, the drugs that they're actually giving me. I want them to continue doing that until I get an overdose, and, you know, that will be the end of my life. And this was like a sort of situation. I said, okay, what is it that we need to do here? I said, okay, Zugi, so you have been brought by these people here and they want a change in your life. No. My story is going to be very, very short. I don't want you to remember the nitty-gritty of what I'm going to say. I don't want you to remember every little thing that I'm going to say. But what I want you to remember is that you tell your younger brother at home, your younger sister at home, your uncle at home, you tell them that you met a person who's talking about the brain and the drug. Brain and the drug. How does the brain react to a drug? And what does the drug do to the brain? That's all I want you to remember. That is all I want you to remember. Zukiswa in a nutshell, very briefly, Zukiswa jumped over the fence and left rehab. And 3 days later, we were called and told that there's a 19-year-old young girl who has been found at in some squatter camp, Angelo squatter camp, and she was no more. I'm saying, today we're going to discuss the brain and the drug. What I want you to take home, there's something called a neurotransmitter. And the name of this neurotransmitter, even if you don't remember well, the name of this is called dopamine. You know, once you take a drug, there's this upsurge, there's this explosive release of dopamine. And unfortunately, this is in general, all the drugs. We're talking people who are taking heroin plus marijuana or dacha, which is nyaupe. We're talking here people who are taking cocaine. We're talking here people who are taking tick, you know, the crystal meth. We're talking here people who are taking mandrax. We're talking here people who are taking all types of drugs, LSD, all types of drugs. I'm saying when you take a drug, there's this upsurge or this explosive release of dopamine, and that's unfortunate because the brain remembers that. The brain, it is imprinted on the brain and it stays there. And the unfortunate part of it is, Uzatini, the brain, because it remembers this, you'll go back again and again to try and get that pleasure that you got from dopamine release. This is an unfortunate set of circumstances. This is something that you drugs. They don't start taking drugs because they want to take drugs. You know, people, you know, that's what is known as peer pressure. Peer pressure. You know, I grew up with Temba. Kuleno Temba mna, and mna uTemba akazungibona as ibari njengokhulunywa. You understand? Akazungibona as uzangibona as a guy who's with it. And so because of this peer pressure, I start taking. You understand what I'm saying? You know, some youngsters are enticed into taking this, but how are they enticed? Here is this friend who says, no, this is just a zol, this is just a zol, this is nothing, this is nothing. And then once you take it, it's the beginning of events. This will be imprinted on your mind. And when it's imprinted on that mind, you will try again and again to try and get that first pleasure. That very first pleasure. And that's unfortunate. But now, what happens is now, you will try and get it the second time. You are going to fail dismally to get the first explosive release of dopamine. You are going to fail dismally. And when you fail, you're going to try and take a higher dosage in an attempt to try and get that same pleasure that you got. Nothing happens. And then it goes on and on and on and on. We say you have developed what is known as tolerance. Drug, to an extent yokuthi manje noma sewuthathe kakhulu kungenzeki next. And then if that happens, the patient becomes depressed. Depressed because of what? I am not getting what I want. I'm doing everything, but I'm not getting what I want. I'm doing everything. I am taking, if I was taking 10 milligrams, I'm taking 20 now. I'm taking 30 now. I'm taking 40, but I'm not getting that same, shall I say, explosive release of dopamine. In other words, that pleasure that I had. You must remember, this dopamine that I'm talking about, it acts on the pleasure center of the brain. And the pleasure center, you can't get that feeling. And this is important for all of us to understand. So what I'm saying here, the best person is a person who has never started. We're talking here prevention. We're saying the cure, well, we're going to struggle. We say the cure is we're going to struggle, but prevention is number one, because you don't have anything on your brain that's imprinted. So you don't have anything, and that is why prevention is really better than cure in this case. But if you have started, we still have a plan. If you have started, we still have a plan. What do? We give you a drug that works the same way as the drug of abuse. The drug of abuse in this case is your nyaupe. The drug of abuse in this case is your cocaine. The drug of abuse in this case is your tick. You know, in Cape Town they call a crystal meth tick, right? The drug of abuse, your mandrakes. But I'm saying to you, we do have a plan of winning you off this. Take it all together by introducing this drug that works on the same receptors as the drug of abuse. In other words, your nyaupe. You understand? It sits there and it closes off all those receptors, and nothing happens when you take the nyaupe. And that's what we do now, right now. That's what we do. And there are quite a number of drugs that we normally. Some people take methadone, some people take Subutex, some people, the different types of drugs. And I think after this session, there will be people who will be asking me questions, and I welcome those questions to answer those questions on an individual basis to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. Right? Need what you need. Unida ukona. We will have a plan for a patient, for umuntu ongekaqali altogether. That person is the one who must never start, because prevention is better than cure. There is a plan for people who have actually started, and those people, we are targeting those receptors. Sivale lama receptors kwenzela into yoba le drug of abuse oyisebenzisayo ingakhona ufika. And that's what we are doing. We don't want to have many Zugiswas that we are losing. We don't want that. We don't want that. And so the best thing is not to start at all. If there are questions, for me, I would appreciate if there are questions from the floor. Punctuate my presentation with questions. And then if there's anything from the floor from you guys, if maybe you have a question, please don't hesitate to ask. Please, buza man, buza, this is your chance. I mean, you never get opportunities like this. It's so difficult. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes if there's anybody who has a question, I would welcome those questions. If there's anybody yes sir.
Umbuzo wami, I'd love to know ukuthi ama drugs ayanglidela or ayabalidela youth who unsafe sex.
Hello, beautiful, yes. Man. I think, the best is to leave that area for Dr. Ngcuka. Dr. Ngcuka will be talking about that area, and I wouldn't like to mess up a presentation, but a clear answer that I would give is a very big yes. It's a very big yes, because once you take drugs, the tendency is to be nonchalant. Nandaba, you understand? And that leads to a problem that we're treating on a daily basis. We're treating these infectious diseases like what? Like the STDs, sexually transmitted diseases like HIV, because of exactly that. Exactly that. And there's another one. Thank you for asking that question. There are people who are taking heroin, and when they take heroin, they use needles. You understand? They use needles. During the process of taking heroin, what happens is they have only one needle, and they'll use it amongst the 5 of them. And what are they doing? If I have HIV, I'm going to transmit my HIV to this one, that one, that. You understand? So I think I want to thank you for that question. That question is so enlightening. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Yes, sir.
Doctor, I would like to ask you, what are the likelihoods of not getting out of the drugs once one has started drugs? Thanks.
Yeah, listen to that one. What?
What are the likelihoods of one getting out of drugs once he has started using them?
Hey, that's a problematic one. Because what is here is imprinted. You understand? What is in the brain is actually imprinted, and it's very difficult to sort of make sure that it's not there anymore. You understand? But then this emphasizes my second point. Remember I said, if a patient happens, or a person happens to have taken drugs, we target the receptors of the same drug that you're talking about. And we close off those receptors. We make sure that we cover those receptors, so that the drug should not get to those receptors and actually activate those receptors, so that you get that same pleasure. We can do that. Thank you very much for asking that question. In other words, we cover the receptors. Any other question?
Question?
Okay. Kono monye. Kono. Any other questions?
Mina ngicela ukuyibuza ukuthi mhlambe let's say kunomuntu engifuna ukumsiza, how do I get information or indlela yokumsiza? Someone who oseyaqalile vela ama drugs.
Yeah, sizwile sonke le question. Qala funa ukwazi ke manje ukuthi i-sources, indawo lapho usiza umuntu athola khona usizo. Indawo like usiwa kuphi. Number 1, i-rehab le bengikhuluma ngayo. Yabo? Rehab, there are two things that we emphasize in a rehab situation. Rehab, you've got a cluster of social workers. They do what is known as cognitive behavioral therapy. In other words, they talk to this person and make sure that this person understands what is going on in his or her life. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. That's number 1. Number 2, you meet a person like me who does medical detoxification. In other words, to remove the drug. In other words, going back to this gentleman's question, to remove, to make sure that we rehabilitate this patient. We make sure that he forgets about the nyaupe he was taking. He forgets about the cocaine he was taking. He forgets about everything. That's my area. That's medical detoxification. So there are two ways: cognitive behavioral therapy, medical detoxification. So we can. Thank you. If in the absence of questions, I would like to sum up. I want you just to remember just one. You remember this one thing, that the explosive release of dopamine, the neurotransmitter, that one is a step that needs every trial of any parent, of any person who's young, who has never started drugs, never to get into that. In other words, not to start. Prevention. Because when we get to cure, money issues come in, not so. Because you've got to now to go and consult doctors, you've got to consult so-and-so, you've got to go and rehabs. Have you ever been to rehab? Rehabs, you pay a lot of money. Rehab, you pay a lot, so you don't want to get into that. Let's prevent. That's my message. Prevention has to be better than cure this time, in the true sense. Yes.
My second question. How long does it take for the substance to be cleansed out of my system? If this question is based on a person that has already sinked in his mind that he's got to stop, then he goes to rehabilitation. But now, during that process of being in rehabilitation, plus minus, how many months, how many days, how many weeks will it take me to be said, now I'm normal? Thank you.
Beautiful. Now that was the duration in a rehab. Well, with drugs, different drugs we've got, different time factors or durations, right? The duration, for instance, of alcohol is about 3 weeks, but the heroin, that is the nyaupe, and then it will take 6 weeks. 6 weeks in a rehab. Now, there is something else that one needs to understand. If you are being rehabilitated whilst outside, it's an unfortunate set of circumstances. Because now, maybe you are using medical detox outside, you are at home. But you're exposed to the environment, the same environment. You go to the same people, and those people, you can say, all right, I'm being rehabilitated. I'm not taking any drugs. I've got something to detox myself. But, you meet this guy, you stay away for 1 day, 2nd day, 3rd day, let me take once, just one puff. You understand? So it's a disadvantage. That's why you need to go to a rehab. Where in a rehab you are going to have people who are concentrating on your behavioral therapy, that is cognitive behavioral therapy, and at the same time you have a doctor who's going to concentrate on your medical detox. So I'm saying for nyaupe, 6 weeks. And I'm saying for alcohol and the other things will take about 3 weeks. Yes. Good. In the absence of questions, is there any, Mr. MC, sir? There's a question. Okay.
Give it up for Dr. Ngcuka. Angizwa kahle manje. Thank you. Emphasize doctor, please guys, this thing is killing. Because one of our patients usilo ushonile ayuza le drug le. Esithatha ontando sidila nabantu abanjalo abayuza this drug. So izolo ushonile i-message siyithole namhlanje. So whoever is using it, please yekele. Naba bo Dr ngicela uye kubo bazokusiza ukuthi uyiyeke. So at this point in time, I would like to call on stage Amba Pantsula from Itutoliseti. You can do better than that. You can do better than that.